Today I want to talk about trust. And this isn't trust between two people, but rather an enterprise's ability to trust the synthetic tabular data that they create. Now, this is important. It's important because data still drives decision making. And because of that, companies collect a lot of it. They collect across a variety of domains, ranging from financial to customer data, as well as to ops data. Now, unfortunately, not all of this data can be accessed. They can't get value from all this data, and that's because of data privacy. Data privacy locks up a lot of this data. And for that reason, companies are looking at leveraging synthetic data, specifically targeting the data that can't be accessed. So creating high fidelity data sets of their financial data and potentially their customer data. Now, this is important because with the synthetic data, they'll have more data, which means more insights, quicker go-to-market, more innovation. But the question we hear always is, can we trust this data? Synthetic data, it's fake data. Can we trust it? Now, the short answer is yes, you can. But it also depends if you have the right levers in place. Now, this is important. If your line of business, they want to make sure that the data is high quality. If you're in risk, privacy, and compliance, they want to make sure that this data doesn't expose them to any more risk. And if you're downstream, a data scientist or a data modeler, you also want to make sure that data is high quality, privacy protected, and can address your use case. So today we're going to talk about 3 levers that companies can put in place to make sure that they can confidently and reliably use the synthetic data that they generate. The first will be building trust through quality. The second will be building trust through privacy. And the third will be building trust through your deployment setup. Now, let's walk through each of these and break them down. When we talk about quality, what I'm referring to here is how closely does the synthetic data align with your real data from a statistical perspective? And we can look at this from 2 ways. One, column quality. With column quality, we're really concerned with column distributions and column correlations. Now, distributions, making sure the distribution of the synthetic output aligns with the real data. And the correlations, making sure that every column correlation, both one-to-one and one-to-many, also align. Now, oftentimes, you'll have metrics that get generated that give you insight into each of these 2 aspects. So as long as you have that, you should have trust in the column quality. The second aspect of quality is row quality. Now, there are 2 examples here. Let's say, we want to generate synthetic data that has customer data. It says, he or she lives in Austin, Texas, 78702. Now, our synthetic data output doesn't have to align exactly with that, but there should be some logical consistency. In other words, it shouldn't say New York, Alaska, 78702. The second aspect of row quality refers to kind of formulas. Some relationships are rigid and have to be maintained. For example, if we're leveraging financial data, we may have profit, revenue, and costs, which we have to maintain. You want to make sure that in your synthetic data tool, you have the ability to maintain these relationships through formulas so that the output can still align and be useful downstream. Now, with those 2 measures in place, quality, you should have trust in. Let's talk about privacy. With privacy, this is important because remember, we're still leveraging PII. So we want to make sure that none of this PII data gets exposed. And we want to have 2 things in place. The first is a mechanism to apply to our training data to make sure that none of this data gets exposed. Now, it's important to know that there is a relationship between quality and privacy. Typically, the more privacy you have, the less quality you have. Now, traditional techniques, anonymization, masking, do a fantastic job at privacy, but not so great at quality. But there are alternatives. Differential privacy, we can abbreviate as DP, is one approach that can still give you the privacy you need while maintaining allowed quality and utility. The second aspect of privacy is to make sure that we have metrics. The mechanism will allow you to apply privacy. The metrics will tell you how much risk you're potentially exposed to. Now, oftentimes, you'll have a metric around leakage. Leakage tells you, well, how much of this real data potentially trickled in and snuck into your synthetic data set. The lower, the better. But ideally, you want to take this a step further. You want to understand, well, what's the probability of an inference attack? The probability of a third party potentially identifying sensitive information in my synthetic data set. With these two metrics and with the mechanism in place, you should have pretty good confidence in the privacy of your synthetic data. Now, let's talk about deployment. The first question we should think about is, well, should we go on-prem or should we go cloud? A lot of companies today are shifting their workloads to the cloud. And that makes sense. There's scale, there's efficiency, continuous updates, but not all workloads are meant for the cloud. With synthetic data, because we're leveraging PII, a lot of companies don't feel comfortable sending PII data to a third-party cloud. So in this case, trust can be built through an on-prem deployment. That being said, once you do generate synthetic data that is high quality and privacy protected, you can consider deploying those synthetic data sets downstream through a cloud deployment. So you could potentially leverage both in this case. The second aspect of deployment, should we consider centralized or decentralized? And what I mean by this is, should we let everyone create data and consume data, or should we separate those roles? Given the variety of the data sets that we see, the variety of thresholds from quality and privacy across the variety of use cases, trust can better be built through potentially a centralized approach. In this case, we're limiting it to a group of people who generate the data. They make sure that it has a quality standard. They work with the privacy and risk team to make sure that they are privacy protected. And then once these two measures are met, they can then push them to potentially a cloud for downstream use. Now, how can trust be built? Well, first, can it be trusted? Absolutely. That's a yes. Now, it's provided you have the right quality measures in place, you have the right privacy protection in place, and of course, you have the right deployment in place as well. Now, with those three, you are more than happy to send them downstream and to begin to reap all the benefits of your synthetic data. If you like this video and want to see more like it, please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or want to share your thoughts about this topic, please leave a comment below.